He's a young 20-year-old English who is dead from a deep vein thrombosis. When we stay a while without moving, a clot can appear in a vein. And if this clot makes its way up and gets stuck in the pulmonary artery, it's not cool at all. And to avoid this, in a plane for instance, on very long flights, you are advised to stand up from time to time to make the blood circulate well in your legs. Unfortunately for Chris, he didn't pause during his game and stayed 10 hours in a row in front of his Xbox without standing up. And we're far from the only case. There are tens of stories about gamers who died in front of their screen after having played too much. The best known case is about a young South Korean who died in a Chinese cybercafe after 50 hours in front of the screen. Visibly, he'd have taken micro breaks to go to the restrooms and drink a cup, but he ended up with a heart attack. For the most curious, he spent so much time in front of StarCraft. When we know that in Korea video games is like a sport and that we can earn up to $100,000 per year if we're good at it, we can understand why it pushes to some excesses.
Who has never heard about World of Warcraft? It's this game that a young 13-year-old Chinese was permanently playing. And then in 2004, he became so addicted that he wanted to be a part of this game. And after playing 36 hours in a row, he decided to jump from the top of a building, convinced that suicide would allow him to resurrect inside the game. The boy's parents tried to complain against the Chinese distributor of the game. The problem is that contrary to a lot of countries, there aren't many PG indications on games in China. For example, World of Warcraft, in the US, is not recommended for kids under 13 years old. But in China, everyone can play it. And addicted gamers' suicide cases are very, very numerous.
You need not be surprised if the craziest stories about addicted gamers happen in Asia. It's normal for a lot of reasons. There aren't a lot of laws that regulate the market, there isn't an important psychological follow-up, and of course, it's also a lot about education. Let's return to World of Warcraft. After a muddle with a friend in high school, a young Chinese decided to sprinkle him with fuel and set the fire. He's not dead, but he's nevertheless hardly injured. As a defense, the pyromaniac claimed he was imitating his World of Warcraft character, a wizard with fire powers. This didn't really convince the judges who sentenced him to 8 years in jail, plus a 100,000 equivalent to euro fee.
We can also mention the case of a person in Shanghai who wounded his friend because he borrowed him a sword, virtual, of course, and that guy had sold the sword for like 500 euros. His lawyer tried to defend him by talking about virtual theft, but in China, virtual laws don't exist. Video games are so popular there that yes, if you virtually steal something, you can be condemned. And it's very paradoxical because a player never owns a virtual item, the data that belongs to the developer or owner of the games, and it stays inside their own data center. However, you can be accused of theft.
There is also the story of a man condemned on The Sims. Because he had set a virtual brothel where players could pay real money for virtual sexual relationships. We're in 2011 in Vietnam and this is Mong. In 2011, he is 15 and he's terribly addicted to video games. So addicted he spends whole days at his village's cybercafe. And so addicted that, to pay for his sessions at the cybercafe, he committed the unimaginable crime. He drew a 7-year-old girl's attention into the woods and killed her with stones. Why? To steal her 2 little golden earrings and sell them to be able to resume his game at the cybercafe. Yes, a 15-year-old guy killed a 7-year-old girl with stones to play video games. It's a little scary. And indeed, to fight against video games addiction, Vietnam took a radical decision. Forbid online games between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m., and this is for everyone.
Farmville is a very addictive game. Very popular amongst young adults. Like Alexandra, for example. Alexandra is 22, when in the middle of an intense Farmville game while planting cabbages, her 3-month-old son decided to get up from his nap. Yes, a baby cries and it's not possible for her to concentrate on her game when it happens. So, the solution is to shake him a bit. When a parent addicted to a video game kills his only baby because he's hungry. And the worst is that, on the internet, we can find tons of stories like this one. A father who forgets his son and leaves him dead in the car. Because he's playing RPG or role-playing games and killing monsters online at the cybercafe. Parents who put their twins in a bathtub and let them drown in it because they resumed a game on their Game Boy Advance. What's worse than letting his child die? Because we forgot him while we focused on a game?
There is the case of this young Chinese couple. In 2007, they meet in a cyber cafe. They're both addicted to online games. In 2009, they have 2 kids, a son and a newborn girl. And to pay for the sessions at the cyber cafe, they sold their little girl for approximately €450. Yes, but it isn't over here. They quickly understood the easy way of getting money, so it was soon the oldest's turn. But given that the kid was a boy and sold higher than girls, that time they earned nearly 10 times over €4,200,000. And it is not over yet. And she becomes pregnant again and sells the kid. Fortunately, the girl's mom discovered the thing and reported the couple to the police. When the couple is asked about the crime, they merely say they didn't know it was illegal.
And lastly, we go to the USA in Ohio. This is Daniel Petrick and his parents Mark and Susan. In October 2007, Halo 3 has just come out, and as a good gamer, Daniel spends his time playing. To the extent that his mom decides to take the game from him, no messing, too much is too much. Except that Daniel, who really wants to play the game. Here it goes downhill. Daniel breaks a nerve. He told his parents to come into the living room and tells them to close their eyes because he has a surprise for them. Simply, he shot them in each head. Once the murder committed, he put the gun in his dad's hand to simulate a suicide and got out of the house. With the game obviously. There are although good news in all that, his dad survived, became pastor, and forgave him of his crime.
Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Hit like, subscribe, and click the bell icon for more knowledge-matic videos.